Hey everyone, it's Sammy from Push Square, and this week I was lucky enough to be invited back to Rebellion to check out the final build of Battlezone on PlayStation VR. Now, if you've been following this channel for a little while, you'll know that I'm a massive fan of the tank-based first-person shooter, and I just couldn't wait to get my hands on the final build. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the things that I saw in the hour or so that I played it, and why you should be excited for this impending launch title. So the first thing that's worth talking about is the menu system. Now, normally this wouldn't even get a mention in a video of this sort, but because we haven't navigated many menus in VR yet, I was super interested to see how they handle it, and it's quite cool. You basically sit in the center of your tank and you're surrounded by different screens which all contain different information. So if you look to your left, down to this side, there is your lobby, and when you're inviting players in and other people into your game, you can kind of see who you're playing with on this lobby screen, and you get their mic logo that shows you when they're talking and when they're not talking. And then in front of you, you've got the campaign map, which I'll talk about in a little more detail later in the video. And to the right, there's like Battlezone news, which tells you what's going on in the world of the game and stuff like that. So it's quite interesting being in a menu in VR, and this is definitely a novelty because it's very new. We've never really navigated menus in VR before, but I was quite impressed with how they'd made the menus feel interactive in a way that a standard 2D game isn't really that interactive at all. So yeah, that was the first thing that I noticed about playing this new Battlezone demo. But the main reason that Rebellion invited me out was to try out the co-op campaign, which was only announced, if I remember correctly, last week or perhaps the week before. Now you can play this 4-player, but I only played it 2-player, and the team were telling me that the game scales depending on how many people are in your lobby and how many people you're playing with, so it's going to get incrementally more difficult to beat the enemies if you're playing with 4 players than if you're playing on your own. Now you can play the whole campaign in co-op with a combination of either 1 person or up to 4 people, and this was the same Battlezone experience that I've had before, but it was really enhanced by having another person as my kind of sidekick, if you like. One of the interesting things I noticed about playing this game co-op was, in a normal game, a standard 2D shooting game, if you like, you can see your partner on the screen or whatever, and that's fine, that's cool. You need to know where your partner is in position to you so that you can complete objectives. But in VR, I was looking around for my partner, which developed a strange sort of connection with them. He was obviously in the room with me, and if we were playing online, we would have been in different rooms. But there was this real strange, difficult to explain feeling of real-world connection in the virtual world, because I needed to physically move my head and look for my partner. And when things got really frantic later on in the campaign, I was really frantically looking around, because you have to position your tank close to your partner's tank in order to heal each other. And when we were really working together to complete the final chapters of the campaign, I was like, where are you? Where are you? And this was something surreal, really. We were communicating on headsets, but that act of just looking physically for my partner is one of the better co-op experiences I think I've ever had. And yeah, that was absolutely amazing. And it was the first thing that I really noticed about the game in co-op, to be honest with you. That sense of a real world connection, even though you're in the virtual world, really, really striking, and really, it really impressed me. So yeah, that was probably the first thing that I noticed about playing the game in co-op. But Rebellion is obviously a veteran when it comes to co-op campaigns. They've been doing this for years with Sniper Elite and with various other games, the Zombie Army trilogy title that they put out a few years back. And you can tell that they've got the chops for this type of gameplay. Now, the way that the campaign works is it's kind of a roguelike. Everything's procedurally generated, and you create a new campaign each time you want to start the game over. And you can pick between a short, medium, or long length campaign, whichever you prefer, and it will generate a grid depending upon what you select. And so this grid is populated by different sort of tasks that you have to complete. One might be simply defeating all the enemies. Another could be you need to hack into a turret and basically take control of it. And each grid that you occupy will give you a new objective to complete. And the way it works is you need to move your way through the grid to a volcano, which represents the final mission. And while you're doing this, the enemy will be growing in strength, and there are these, I believe they're called nemesis tanks, and they'll try and chase you down if you're taking too slow. So it's a kind of thing where you need to pick the optimal route to your objective, which weakens the enemy defenses, which allows you to power up your tank in the best possible way, because you're constantly earning kind of money, which you can then spend at a shop to augment your tank with new equipment and gear. But you also need to be careful that you're not taking too long and taking on every single mission, because if you do this, you're going to have a lot of money, but the enemy is going to be really strong and it's going to hunt you down. So I thought this was quite a cool dynamic, and we took on a short campaign during the time I was there, and it took about an hour to get to the end. We didn't actually finish it because we ran out of lives, and lives are another commodity that you need to buy using in-game money as you progress to give you more opportunities and the chance to respawn, and they're shared in a pool between your team. So if you've got a weak link on your team, they're going to use up all your lives, for example. You can revive each other and you can heal each other. And this setup, it seemed really interesting. I'll tell you what it reminded me of, and about 3 of you are going to understand this reference. But if any of you ever played Virtua Tennis 4, either on the PS3 or the Vita, it had a kind of board game campaign to it where you would complete different objectives, whether it was training to level up your player or matches which you needed to win in order to get ranking points. And you had to move across a kind of board, and you could kind of select the route. And this feels very much like that. Now, they're saying that there will be reason to replay, and basically the more times you play through the campaign and either complete it or lose, you'll unlock access to better weapons which you can then use on your next run. So by the time you've played through it a few times on, say, easy difficulty, you'll have the chance to purchase some of the better weapons, which is going to make your playthrough that little bit easier. But then obviously you're going to want to jump to the harder difficulties, and what they're trying to do is make this a game that people are going to replay lots of time, whether it be with their friends or alone. And I definitely enjoyed the hour that I spent playing the campaign and almost completing it. And to be honest, if I didn't have to leave and go home, I probably would have played through it again now that I'd had a better understanding of the way that the controls worked and stuff like that. So yeah, I was quite impressed with the campaign. I think the key thing about Battlezone is that it feels like a game, and for anyone out of there that's tried VR, that's tried PlayStation VR, you'll know some of the games are like tech demos. The London Heist is a tech demo. The Batman VR game is a tech demo. Whereas Battlezone feels like a proper full-price product. And that's exciting if you're thinking of getting a PlayStation VR, because obviously we're all interested to try these tech demo type experiences. But you're going to need a bit of meat and a reason to keep coming back to the technology, I think. And I think Battlezone is going to provide that. Anyway, we're hoping to bring you a full review of Battlezone pretty soon, actually. So stay tuned to the channel and stay tuned to pushsquare.com if you want to find that. Do let me know in the comments section if you have any questions about the co-op or the campaign structure. The latter in particular is quite difficult to explain because it's not a linear Call of Duty-esque normal first-person campaign. It's more like a roguelike, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about that. I felt that I was only just about getting a grasp on it after the hour that I played. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them. And stay tuned to the channel, because we're going to have tons more on PlayStation VR in the lead up to launch, which is now only about 2 weeks away, and I'm super excited. So yeah, thank you so much for watching.